Welcome to Oxygen for Educators. This is Michelle Kinder. I'm one of your hosts. We're going to be looking at the hard truth that students need more, and simultaneously the adults in the building are feeling under-resourced and overextended. Join us as we elevate the voices of people across the country doing this work. We'll be looking at anxieties, overwhelm, burnout, joy, commitment, and everything in between. We're glad you're here. This space is for you. Hi folks, this is Michelle Kinder, and I'm delighted to be with you today for a special episode. We heard from some of our beloved educator friends in LA and a request from them to just share some ideas of how to support children in times of natural disaster or uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of stress and angst. So that's what we're here to do today. And along with a few tips, we're sending so much love, so much care to everyone impacted by the fires and now today the earthquake and the tsunami warnings. Truly unthinkable. And just our hearts are with you in every way. So, you know, when we heard from our friends, one of the things I thought of first was just the tremendous challenge of how we help our kids make sense of something that we ourselves can't make sense of. And how do we support our kids when we're simultaneously in crisis or feeling under-resourced and overwhelmed? So before I get into specific ideas, I want to share two key kind of umbrella thoughts. One is to be gentle with yourself as the adult in this scenario and prioritize the things that soothe and ground you. Your regulated nervous system is the single best thing that you can offer your child. But as you hear that and you put that in the context of what you're navigating if you're in the thick of a natural disaster, please don't hear that with any shame or guilt or added pressure. Because if you are in a survival state right now, of course you are, and it's going to take time. So just the act of prioritizing even micro moments of doing what soothes and grounds you is going to pay off in your child's sense of safety. Lean on your own support system and have some outlets for your sense of anxiety and stress, just to kind of minimize how much that adult full understanding of what's going on leaks into your child's understanding of what's happening, which is, of course, more limited depending on their age. One of my earliest memories, I was 4 years old when we were living in Guatemala City and that huge earthquake hit. And I don't remember the earthquake, but I remember that our whole family had to sleep in the car that night on the street, and I was in my mom's lap. And I remember how well I slept. That's the earliest memory, not the trauma of everything that was going on around us. And I'm sure my mom was terrified, my dad too, but they created a little container of safety. And in my own childlike world, the thing that stood out was how well I slept in my mom's arms that night, not the larger context of everything that was going on. So just release yourself from any pressure to do this perfectly. That's not going to happen. And it doesn't need to happen for your kids to get through this. Children can navigate a lot of uncertainty, especially in the context of predictable, safe relationships with their caregivers and teachers and friends. So that's the first overarching idea. Be gentle with yourself and prioritize your own well-being to the degree you can, giving it lots of time and space. The second is to really trust your own instincts about what your kids need. There isn't a one size fits all for this sort of circumstance. So parent the child in front of you and really trust your knowledge about what will land, what will support them, what will help them ground in these days and weeks. It's going to be determined by lots of contextual factors like your child's temperament, their developmental stage, what you know about them from past experiences, and on and on and on. So trust your parental wisdom and pulse on the situation above and beyond any ideas I share here or that you get from other people. So within the container of those two kind of overarching ideas, here are 5 things for you to consider. These are things that hopefully can help you and your child reconnect with a sense of safety, even in the face of crisis. The first is to really look for ways to thread that, almost like weave that blanket, weave those experiences that create that sense of safety. And that can include very overtly reminding them that they are not alone. You might say something like, I'm here for you. I know this is hard. You have a long list of people who care about you and are always going to make sure you're okay. And depending on the child, they might want to go further with that. They might want to brainstorm the list of all the people who are always going to be looking out for them. Other children, they're going to want to hear that and not engage further, not be asked questions. You'll know. But just a reminder, they're not alone, and it's not even just you looking out for them. There's a web of people looking out for them. This sense of safety can also be woven by really monitoring media exposure. We all know that so much of media these days is designed to help us stay tuned in. And one of the biggest ways we are motivated to stay tuned in is through fear. So it's just not made for kids. It's not good for adults' nervous systems either, but it's certainly not made for kids to better understand what might be happening. So really paying attention to what your child is seeing and hearing and monitoring media exposure is a great way to underline and underscore that sense of safety. The last one in this first idea is, to the degree possible, stick with and keep rituals and routines intact. Now that can feel laughable if you are in crisis, but just seeking to kind of lean into or lean toward rituals and routines, or some version of rituals and routines, makes a really big difference, especially to younger children. And of course, if that's disrupted for a time because of circumstances beyond your control, that's totally okay. But just getting back to them as soon as possible, and just knowing that most kids are served by rituals and routines and predictability even before they think they will be. So that can be kind of like a choice point for a parent. Do I push them back into routines and rituals, gently nudge them, completely let them off the hook until they feel totally ready? You know your child, but by and large, you might err on the side of nudging them toward rituals and routines, even if they don't feel totally ready. The second of the 5 ideas is to check in often, but from a place of reassurance, not anxiety. So you might say something like, we're going through a really hard time right now as a family, and it happened so fast. Things felt normal a month ago, and now nothing feels normal. Some questions you might have are what are you hearing and what do you think? What are your friends talking about? What worries you? What helps you? What can I do that can help you feel more steady? Some kids love these types of direct questions and will want to engage deeply with their parents around it. Others, you're going to have to like really pepper in a question a day because it's just too, they get overwhelmed or annoyed. Some kids do better with I wonder statements instead of direct questions. So like, I wonder what you're hearing and what you think about it. Or I wonder what your friends are thinking or talking about. For some reason, just that tiny change in language takes the pressure off that some kids experience with direct questions. What we know for sure is that feeling seen, felt, and understood is a strong signal to the nervous system that one is safe. So that's what you're going for. You're going for sending that message to yourself and to your child. And so you might find yourself saying something like, you can tell me anything. Don't hold something inside that is worrying you. It gets too heavy when we don't share. And you might even coach your child to identify the people in their life that they can talk to about their worries besides you, just so they have like a running list of people that they can share whatever's feeling too heavy for them with, so that they have that at the ready when and if they want to use it. One trick is that if you have a child who struggles to communicate directly about their own inner world and their own experiences, you can put them in the role of consultant by saying something like, I know a kid about your age that's really scared about the fires and her parents don't know what to say to her. What do you think might help? So from there, you're opening your child up to a conversation about it without putting the focus on their experience. It's kind of like a side door to open up some dialogue that doesn't feel threatening or overwhelming. The third of the 5 ideas is to not minimize fear or anxiety. What you want to do is always make space for whatever your kid is feeling, even if there are times you have to set a limit on how they're expressing that feeling. So for some kids, it might be, I can tell you're really angry or overwhelmed, but you can't take it out on your brother. What you can do is talk to me about it or even scream into your pillow. So the 3 steps would be acknowledging the feeling, setting the limit on the behavior if it's problematic, and then giving an alternative. What we know is that kids, sometimes their feelings do not come out directly. They come out sideways in behavior, or you might even experience your child in times of crisis really overreacting about something that seems insignificant. That's just because that's the safer outlet for their feeling. They're not able to come at it directly. I'm afraid, I'm terrified, I'm upset about the fire. Instead, they're going to maybe like lose their mind over a Lego not fitting together, something that seems totally manageable to them when they're not in crisis. What you can do about that is just know that that's a big feeling that needs to come out and not focus on what triggered it, just focus on comforting the overwhelm, and maybe looking for ways to give them opportunities to express their feelings more directly. Even if they don't take you up on it in the moment, it's a signal to their nervous system that they're safe, just having a safe adult check in with them. So validating that fear or anxiety really goes a long way. You might even find yourself saying something like, how you're feeling right now makes sense to me. What's happening has never happened to me, and I'm an adult, and it's extra to be dealing with it as a kid. Do you remember what helped you feel better last time you felt so sad or mad or angry, overwhelmed? Doesn't matter. I can share some things that work for me if you want. Those type of opening up space conversations. The fourth idea is to connect them to values that anchor and guide your family. So sharing with them what your family believes and values kind of pulls them up from the immediacy and urgency and overwhelm of the moment. You might find yourself saying something like, times of crisis always come with more opportunities to be kind and take care of other people. Right now, there's a lot of suffering in our community, but there's also a lot of helping. What have you noticed? Or something like, when things feel shaky in the world, our family shows up. We stand up for what we think is right. We look out for people and look for ways to show kindness, compassion, empathy, and respect. Now that can be 100 other values, but the magic is in pulling your child up almost to like the 30,000 foot view, and giving them an anchor that's bigger than the crisis. The last idea that I want to share with you is similar in that you're orienting around hope. Hope is powerful medicine, and you can help put the immediate crisis into a larger context, which can bring kids some relief. You might say something like, things we can't understand happen every day, and we hold hope, believe in love, and bring good into this world with everything we do and say. When there's so much out of our control, what we choose to do and say never is. And, just those general words of comfort, like, I love you, I'm so glad we have each other, those sorts of things. So we truly share these ideas with such humility, offered in truly unthinkable times. If it feels like a small and even like penny offering because of how significant the crisis is and what families are facing right now in California. My hope is that you'll take what fits and gives you strength, and then just discard anything that you heard today or that you hear anywhere that isn't right for your child or that makes things feel heavier or harder for you. Know that across the country and across the world, we're all sending so much love and strength to all of the families and all of the educators in California. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's it for today's episode of Oxygen for Educators. If you found value in this episode, consider sharing it with a colleague or friend. Please rate and subscribe so we can stay in conversation. And please let us hear from you if you have a suggestion for a topic or know of an educator we should interview. And thanks for all you do out there.